Hey everybody, it's Brian here from quantlabs.net. We got Ivan here in a bar with music blaring in the background. What he's going to show us is his Java library?
Wrapper
Wrappers
Small
to
wrapper
the
around the TWS API.
Exactly, Interactive Brokers TWS. So what we have here is we got Eclipse loaded up with his library. Take it away,
All right.
Ivan. Say hello, Ivan, to all
Hello, everybody.
to the glorious people of in YouTube land.
Yeah.
So why don't you show them what the two Java apps? Now this is Java you're working with the latest version of Interactive Brokers Java API, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you see the Eclipse project here. There are those three packages are basically coming from Interactive Brokers, and they contain the latest version of their Java API, which is quite improved. And we were just talking with Brian that you don't need a lot of actually to use it. I mean, if you look at the C++ API, it's more complicated to use, and definitely
for Windows, and then when you go into Linux, it's even hairier, right?
Yeah, for sure.
A no-go situation.
So, but the Java API actually, even if you compare this version versus the stable version of the API, actually, I think the change happened a few months ago when they kind of switched to new interfaces and stuff like that. So it's really like a really good design, and it could be
good.
used pretty much directly. So then, why do you need a wrapper around that? Well, the main reason I actually started doing things that way is because the Interactive Brokers API is kind of designed to be asynchronous. That means that you call a function, let's say, to get all the positions that you have, and then you need to go to the in another function which is actually executed even in a separate thread.
Can I get another bite?
Another? No, I'm okay. Another function that is executed.
Beer's on the way.
Yeah, you have to cut it off actually.
We'll get more creative when there's more beer. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No. So where was I? Yeah, you need to actually.
We're talking about the
Yeah, it's asynchronous. The API is asynchronous. So you call one function, let's say get orders or something, or positions, and then in a separate function which is executed completely independently, like in a separate thread, you start receiving order after order, and there is usually a message at the end that says all orders are received. So how do you make this to work in a nicer way when you just want to call a function and wait for the results? That's what exactly I did basically here.
So these two function or methods or classes you're showing me, TWS API is the generic API that you wrote that sits on top of the IB.
Yeah, exactly.
IB API on top of the application, just like a client that will call the TWS API class.
Correct.
Okay, let's.
Correct. So we can start with the client actually. So this is a very simple application that actually connects to TWS. So you have to have TWS running. Connects to TWS. You can see the connect call. So here we create the wrapper class. These are basically the default settings. Empty string means use localhost. The port is the default port, and one is just the client ID. You can choose whatever you want because you might have multiple clients. So then you do the connect, and then here is the first example of using API. We call the function called getPositions, which returns a list of all the positions that
are open in TWS.
In
correct?
TWS,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
And then here, as a simple example, we just go and print each position.
Right.
And then we call a function which actually the only thing it does is submits a single order for the platinum contract or double contract.
Right, whatever it is.
And we run the application a little bit earlier. Here you can see the results. So the first two, ignore them. They're pretty much the strings that are shown by the API. And then there are two positions. One is, I guess that's JP Morgan, 200 shares. The other one, Facebook. I don't know why it shows as 0. My guess is that it's, whatever.
Well, let me, before so we're running Interactive Brokers, the TWS in demo mode. For those that don't know, the user, all lowercase, is EP demo, and then the password is all lowercase demo user. So that's what we're not registered with Interactive Brokers at all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. So so that's what the application does. Then it submits an order, and this order we'll see it when it's submitted in TWS. So now, let's just run it quickly.
Yeah, you might want to show TWS running in the background as well.
Okay.
So, clear that so people can see that actually works.
Okay, so we have the Platinum contract here.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all.
Why did I hear? No, it should be here the contract.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure whether it will show, but let's say we have the Platinum contract, so we just have a quote from the from the demo account, and you see here it shows API. That's kind of a separate box where the stuff from the API comes. Now we go back to the Java and we run the application. So we saw the two positions printed, but then here now we have an order which is to sell one contract of Platinum. It's not a limit order, but it's not transmitted automatically to exchange.
Right, that's how you set it up in the.
Yeah. So usually what I do is like all my orders submitted through the API, they'll show up on the screen here in the API, and then I go through them manually, and basically the ones that I want to transmit, I hit transmit, and that's it. Or I might want to change some of them, and that's why by default they're not submitted automatically. So here you can see it's a pretty straightforward and intuitive way. Like it uses the order object from Interactive Brokers. So here we create a new order object. We set the quantity to 1. The order is sell because we're going short. So Interactive Brokers doesn't have orders like short entry, long entry. You just say sell 1 and that's it.
Right, yeah, that's exactly how it is set up in the TWS Link 2 as well. No different than how you do it in the C++. Very similar.
Because both of them are like good APIs, but if you look at the IBC++ API, it's not so straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to save yourself about $100 and something bucks as well.
So then we put a limit price. Oh, actually it was a limit order. The order type is limit. Transmit false, that means don't transmit it right away. Outside the regular trading hours, that means that the order is active. And then you have to specify the contract. So the contract for the Platinum, currency USD, NYMEX is the exchange, PL is the symbol, and this is the expiry. So we say the October contract. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And so now what this does is it goes into TWS API.
Yep.
And let's look at the get positions. So what get positions will do, that's when we get all the positions. It will connect if necessary, kind of. And then, that's basically to empty the semaphore. So basically the API, my wrapper is using actually a semaphore. Is using a semaphore to synchronize between the two threads that's the semaphore. I actually saw some similar code online, actually. That's how I started doing it. So it's using the semaphore in order to synchronize when the input arrives.
Okay.
And this IP controller class on the very top here, this IP controller class is basically the Interactive Broker object containing the access to the API.
Okay.
So, and the semaphore is for synchronization, and there are a few things here. So what will happen is the positions, so let's go back to the get position function. So we connect, we initialize the semaphore, and then we call the function from the Interactive Brokers API, which requests all the positions.
Yep.
So now, when this function executes, it will return immediately. So now, basically, we immediately go to this line, and here we block on the semaphore until the semaphore tells us all the positions.
Have you tried this on multiple clients?
Well, I mean, in multiple clients, everybody will have their own semaphore.
Oh, I see.
It's not a global semaphore. It's only to synchronize the threads within this application.
Okay, so it's local to the process. Okay.
So then, actually, the position, that's the object, the position object that will return. Actually, it's just string contract quantity and stuff like that. So that's the block. Actually, that's how basically we block on the semaphore. We try to acquire it, and if everything is all right, will wait certain amount of time. Actually, it's
Okay.
I have set it to wait 10 seconds. If the stuff doesn't come in 10 seconds, I consider it an error. But you might want to change that and just make it do something else.
Right.
So here the positions arrive. Actually, this is the function that once they're requested from one of the threads, there is another thread that is created that is listening to the socket where this application talks to TWS.
Okay.
And whenever TWS sends a position back, which comes either from TWS or from the interactive brokers, this function is called actually.
Okay.
But it's important to understand that this happens in two parallel threads. So as soon as we get a position, what we do is we simply add it to our list and that's it. When all the positions arrive, the IP controller will call this function.
Okay.
Okay? So what happens is once this function is called here, the position end, that means that all the positions that we have in TWS, they have arrived. So what we do, we release the semaphore. Once we release the semaphore, now the main thread that was waiting will wake up because it blocked on the semaphore.
Right.
So it will wake up and then it will just take the list of the order and return it to the client because it knows that everything was received.
Okay.
So that's kind of the approach, and I have done that for open orders and for a few other things basically, but I mean that's the whole idea. The whole idea is to have like a pair of functions so that you can simply just call those functions, wait for the results, and the results are returned to you. Now that's not always possible. Not all the interactive broker stuff works so nicely, because for this thing to work it's critical kind of, or not critical but important, to have something like a position end.
Okay.
So basically a method that is called when the whole stream has arrived. But one example is if you subscribe to to data feed, there is no end to the stream.
Of course.
You basically, so then you need to handle it in a different way actually, but it's beyond this kind of wrapper because I use it only for order.
So yeah,
management
that was
and
going to lead
position.
me into the next question. Is I think we mentioned this before. Last time you did this video
Yeah.
a couple months back. If you put a position in, you're relying on TWS to manage those positions, obviously. So
If you put an order,
yeah, if you put an order in,
Yeah.
like you're not using any other processor or any other software that you develop that will maintain all the open positions. Like you are relying on TWS itself to maintain those open positions. Does that
Well,
make sense?
yeah, but it will issue the order, send it to the exchange.
Yeah.
Once
Well-
the order is executed, you'll see it in your portfolio on TWS.
So that's what I'm saying.
As
You're,
a position.
you're relying on TWS to do a lot of the.
I'm using
position-
TWS
position
all day
management.
long. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So for me, actually, the way kind of I use TWS with my tools, the idea, my goal is actually my tools to be kind of helping me to automate certain things that I can automate. But still, TWS is kind of the main application that I'm using.
So how come you're just manually transmitting? How come you're not fully confident yet to put the order in automatically?
I don't put that many orders. That's one thing.
Right.
And sometimes, let's say with futures, right? Sometimes you basically can get better execution when you do the trading manually. What I mean by that is, let's say I have a stop order, right? So I'm saying let's buy one platinum future
Yeah.
above $1,000, right? Stop. And right now, let's say the price is 1,010, right?
Okay.
And I see that it has spiked 3%, right? So it was 97 when I was planning to put the order, but now it's already. So if I put the stop order right now, what's going to happen is, because the $100 stop has passed, we'll just buy at 110. But what I can do is, like I say, okay, the system wanted to buy at 110. This is a huge rally. I'm actually expecting a pullback here, so let me put a limit order and see whether I can get actually a better price. And usually, what happens, it will pull the other way around and stuff like that. Plus, I don't manage that many trades. So you can really, sometimes when I feel I want to do something manually, the trading I like.
Now, let's say from an automated standpoint, you have like yesterday where the markets dropped. What, 2 days ago? Yesterday, 2 days ago, where the market drops 600 points.
Yeah.
In your system, like with this wrapper, or let alone with TWS itself, you have open positions. The market's dropping currently. Is there a way that you could have some sort of panic button? Yeah, we're okay. You can have some kind of panic button to sort of reverse the positions, or at least close them out, or
Well, actually, I think in TWS there is an option to actually say close all positions or something like that.
okay.
So we can close all positions. I believe there is such an option. I have never used it though.
Right. But I mean, 2 days ago it would be
Well, I didn't have any open positions a few days ago, so I was kind of lucky.
Daddy got killed.
No, actually, it's the opposite. If I had my oppositions open, I missed actually a huge opportunity.
Welcome back. Due to our Crap Tops courtesy, sponsored by Acer, never buy the piece of crap software or hardware. Things happen, very bad, ugly things will happen. Anyways, sorry about that, Ivan.
No problem.
Do you remember where we left off, or shall I ask you another question?
Well, we were talking about the panic button and dealing with all the orders.
Yes, how to do that.
Here in trade, I believe, I saw close all positions, or you can do close selected positions, but we don't have anything selected. So, but that's from TWS. Another thing is actually, I think, which is important to kind of learn from things that are not happening very often, but when they happen, life sucks. Is like when you get this drop of more than 10%, like 2 days ago in the morning, that means that one reason actually why we got such a big drop at the open, my guess, is that
Automated trading.
people were selling, panic selling, but another reason is that a lot of stop orders got triggered. So on the way down, you have put a stop loss order or something like that, and that gets triggered. So there are different ways to avoid that, but one simple way is like you check for stop losses yourself. I mean, now if you're trading something that moves really fast, then probably it's not worth it. But if you're trading like me, basically daily strategies, putting one order a day max for a contract or something like that, is like I don't like. If the market drops 14%, I'll take the loss.
Yeah,
that's it. But if what is going to happen is when the day finishes and the data arrives, my system will check whether my stop losses were exceeded, and actually it will do I'll close the positions that got hit on the next day. And you might think, well, you're taking a big risk there. That's true, but do you know how many times the market actually goes in a downward spiral, like there is no tomorrow, just to recover the whole thing afterwards? That's exactly what happened. And a few years ago, flash crash was the same.
Right.
If you're sitting with your stop orders, you're basically getting executed at really bad prices. So if you really want to have tight stops and stuff like that, it might be better to invest your time and basically create your own engine that kind of sits and monitors. But then even if you have your own stuff, you gotta decide, like.
Well, what we're just doing here is just educating. I mean, people decide what they want. They're their own developer.
Exactly. But if you put the orders after the close, actually usually the open is, forget about trading at the open. Like the US markets, when they open, wait for half an hour or something like that, and then go put stop orders or whatever, right? But usually one way to set up yourself for big problems is actually to put everything at the open, because the open.
Well, it depends on your strategy, because I know guys that trade only in the first 20 minutes when the market opens and the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, of course. If you have your strategies that basically you know what you're doing and stuff like that, I'm just talking about general stop losses.
Sure,
How to do those things.
So let's go through. I might have some more questions. Like we may do a live webinar for other people whenever you get settled. Okay.
For sure.
All right, so let me just see what we got here. All right, so everything seems to be pretty simple. I think people are kind of. Go ahead.
It actually is, because like those 4 functions at the top are basically pretty much what I was why I wrote this thing originally. So the get positions basically goes and retrieves all my current positions from Interactive Brokers.
From TWS.
From TWS,
Right.
exactly. So now I have a list with my positions, my current positions, and then my system, which is a separate piece of software, generates some orders, right? So let's say it wants to go long and stuff like that.
Right.
So now, for entering new positions, everything's fine. But let's say the system thinks that right now we should be long platinum, right?
Okay.
So we'll have a buy order on or at least it will say that we're long platinum. But then it will want to put a stop order as a stop loss for the next day or something like that, or just close the position. But if for some reason I didn't take the position, how do I know that? Well, that's why we get the list with the positions before.
Right.
So then we can check whether the position that the system believes we're in is actually exists.
Okay.
Because it might be the case that, you know, on discretionary basis or for some other reason you might not have taken certain positions. So that's why we need to get the positions and get orders. The cancel all orders, it was just an easy way just to clean up all the orders that we have generated through the API or in any other way.
So when you say
before.
cancel order, that's anything that's open but not transmitted or submitted, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if it's transmitted, I think if it's not executed, it will get cancelled.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, if it's not executed. So if you have a
It's not
limit order
right.
that you're waiting for the limit, and you know, let's say you have a limit order to buy at $95 and the current price is 100, so
Yeah.
this order is just sitting there and waiting for $5 to drop the price. If you call cancel all orders, I believe it will get cancelled as well.
Okay.
As well. So
Now-
basically, you clean up the screen, all the screens in TWS that have orders,
Okay.
and
So explain this commented out logger part.
that's
It's
something.
just for debugging purposes, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, like actually, if you look at this iLogger thing, it's
Yeah.
actually a interactive brokers object,
Oh, okay.
and it's some kind of a nice way to, whenever interactive brokers wants to log something, to call you to log it instead, so that you know. So that if you want to put your logging into a database or something else, you're not really.
Well, I guess that comes up to another question: is how long have you been working with the TWS API, like a Java? How long would you say you've been working with it?
Well, I have been looking at the API for a few years now, but
So, this is the concern that I always have with R, Python, whatever. The APIs, what I worry about, that's why I use the TWS link. Excuse me, because you know my strategy. If I use that piece of software,
yeah,
even though it's commercial, and there's a huge change that comes in from Interactive Brokers, they change the API. I don't have to sit here and change my code or your code in the API directly to update whatever the changes are, because I let them, the vendor, take care of that for me.
Exactly.
That's why I use it. But you haven't been impacted in any way since you've been using, where they may have deprecated some of the code or had an impact on your actual code?
Well, I mean, as I said, actually, this new layout that they have with those interfaces like iLogger, and if we go in the beginning of the code, you will see actually that the class itself implements a bunch of other interfaces, right? And all of these are interactive brokers interfaces, right? So this whole layout is actually new, and it's new to the beta right now. If you go to the stable version and download the stable API, that stuff is not there. It's a different way of doing things. So what I'm saying here is that if you like before that, when I was writing code, I'll use the older version of the API, and right now this is a completely new kind of approach.
So if you were, let's just say, role-playing here, you stuck with the older version of the API, would that have a huge impact on that particular code?
Depends how you designed your code, but yes, you would have to do some rewiring with this introduction of new stuff. And the thing is that actually for stuff like that, commercial software probably sounds like a very useful idea, because
That's the whole advantage of it.
if you think about the interface of sending orders and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's not something that's gonna change. You can use a few simple functions
Right.
with your setup.
Right.
But what might change is a specific vendor playing around with, the APIs and stuff like that.
That's the only reason why
Exactly.
I hold off with something like this
Yeah.
versus a TWS
So you're
link.
just kind of buying, But this new interface is like this new Java
It's going to stay with
interface.
us for a while.
Yeah, it looks like a well-designed thingy. Like the old one looked like a, not really like rocket science
Right.
software in terms of design, but this one looks like really well-designed Java piece of software. And my guess is that they'll stay with this approach.
So
for
the
a while.
only types of orders that you've got covered in this particular TWS API is limit orders, market orders. That's all I saw.
Well, you can set any order through it. You can set like, for example, what I have used is I usually use stop orders, market orders, and my limit orders are usually done manually. So I have done stop limits, orders that have both the stop price and the limit price, and it works. But this whole thing is actually controlled by the color. So here, when you fill the order,
Yep.
you can go to the Interactive Brokers site. Actually, we can do it here. We can open the class. That's the Interactive Broker class for an order. It's a massive thing, basically.
Yeah.
And we can set up any of those parameters.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's insane the stuff that you can do with this API, but yeah, you can set, like, they're kind of a. So, for example, this is the time in force. You can say for the whole day or good till cancelled and stuff like that. Then there are, so that's the limit price. The auxiliary price is actually, if it's a stop order, you will fill the auxiliary, whatever it's pronounced.
Okay.
And yeah, so anything that you want to change is in this order object, and here we can control it. So any type of order we can submit
Okay.
to this API.
Okay. Let's stop this right now. No. Hey, Brian here from quantlabs.net. Let's talk about databases, how you would interact or implement a database, your strategy, what you're going to do, come down the line. I know you're a big fan of Java.
Of course.
Now, you're currently using MySQL.
Yes.
Now, I guess the question is, so you're not using any position management, position reconciliation in a database of any kind right now?
No, I'm not.
Are you planning to?
Actually, I have been thinking for a while to implement something simple, which actually logs everything basically in a database, but never got to
So
it.
you're not doing any P&L or anything like that, or
Okay, so the P&L I do it in two different ways. Like Interactive Brokers provide you with a lot of reporting for that, so
Okay.
You can download the stuff in Excel, and
that comes right out of your web access in the account
yeah.
that you have. It's
But
not
you can
done-
also request it through the API. So
Oh,
you
really?
can get some of that stuff through the API.
Oh, wow.
I believe so. We can probably pull the documentation and look through it, but I think there is a lot of stuff that can be obtained that way.
for P&L.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Actually, when you open TWS on the screen, usually what you are going to see.
Like that?
Well, do you have a portfolio somewhere? Let's say this
Yeah.
one.
You have a
Yeah, okay.
portfolio.
So here, for all the positions, if we have positions, we will see the P&L for every position, right?
And that's
And you'll have a total line here and stuff like that.
Right.
So that's what I use during the day to monitor how things are going, right?
And that's over how far back does it go? Any time you want to go back
No, this is just
for the day?
for the like
Like open positions?
Yeah, spot.
Oh,
like
okay,
a spot.
gotcha, okay.
Oh, here in the portfolio, that's where it is.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so it
So
tells you
it's-
what's the cash, and there is some thousand.
That's available that to your within your account, right?
Yeah, but that's the market value of the whole account. That's the market value of the whole
Okay.
account. So this account is kind of $500,000. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, why not? Easy peasy.
Yeah.
So in terms of just like the beef that I have with RBC is it's so archaic that I open a position, I don't know the amount that I opened at, there's no running total of how my portfolio is doing on all those positions, or how the positions are doing individually.
No, you see everything. Here, for example, for this position, there is only a single position, but for this position we see the number of shares, 1,000.
Right.
That's the average price that you bought, 165.57. The current market value is 164, so we are losing some money. That's the P&L for the position. And this is market data.
But that's current though, right?
Yeah, that's current.
But I'm talking about like that goes back, a month from now, like the last 30 days of all my positions for a report.
If you go online, I don't know about TWS,
Okay.
but I believe actually you can pull that data through the API. But I'm not 100% sure. And but if you go online, for sure you can obtain it.
So that's why I'm asking about the
stuff
database
like
to track all
the
that.
database is very useful actually, because TWS, one thing is that they can log all your orders that you do, but they do it in a very ugly way.
Yeah, archaic.
First of all, you gotta go set up some arcane setting, then it goes in some text file that is
that right there is turned me
stored
off.
in their directory and stuff like that. So the best thing actually to have is if you can write a plugin or something, whenever something gets transmitted to TWS, basically just to listen and periodically obtain
Record it.
information and record it. Yes.
Yeah, and exactly, and you have it stored in your own database.
Because you can obtain your orders from TWS,
Yeah.
but only within certain window.
Exactly.
You cannot obtain the entire history right now.
Exactly.
So you can obtain the documents that have, you bought this, that years back.
Sure.
But through TWS, if you want to do it, you have like a few days actually to download certain orders and record it. And it's not a problem, because I see every order has kind of a unique ID. So if you pull an order twice, I don't think it's going to be a problem, because it's already in the database. So when you look
So
up,
you could pull that up through the API,
you can pull up, but within a window. Let's say
like 30 days or...
no, 3 or 7 days.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is, what I'm taking is that you should be recording everything that you
Yeah.
in positions
Yeah.
should be recorded in the
Yeah.
database.
And one software that probably does something like that is Trade Manager. I have seen
Trade manager, trade link.
Trade Manager. If you remember the Java software that we looked at like half a year ago or
Yeah,
something.
we'll have to look at it again.
Yeah, so this thing actually stores a lot of data. Basically, it builds kind of their own objects around
Right.
the IB
Oh, I remember.
objects.
Yeah,
and-
from Simon, right? Simon Allen.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And throws
Okay.
everything into a database.
That might be useful. That'll be very useful.
Like, the thing is that you don't need a lot there. Basically, you have like a few things that you want to log, but it's really important to log. the
Yeah, I
orders,
think it's
believe.
important. Like if you do like you want to do is like you're doing well, and in 6 months you want to show some kind of track
Yeah.
record. You want to be able to provide that.
Well, for that you can use their documentation, basically, like
Yeah.
the stuff that you get through your account and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But orders are good, because with orders you can do certain analysis and stuff like that. And if I don't like, and I think they can extend on something in TWS, it's a plugin system or something like that. Like writing applications that talk to TWS instead of like somehow getting inside TWS is ridiculous. I think.
Well, I just think that my view is you should have a system that you write that will log all your positions and how they're doing.
Oh yeah,
and-
but what
and
I'm
so-
saying, but still, now if you write your own program that does that, you have to bring up TWS, and then you have to bring up your program.
Yeah.
While if you were able to write a plugin for TWS, you just bring up TWS, it
yeah,
loads
sure.
your plugin, and everything.
That makes
is-
sense. Yeah.
You might sell your plugin or distribute it to others.
Or you may do so well that you may no longer need interactive brokers, and you may want to move on to another broker
True.
as well.
Yeah.
So that's another
Yeah.
option as well. That's it for me, man.
Yeah,
I think that the walkthrough you've provided me is very beneficial.
I hope so.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
But thanks again for all the interactive
You're very
brokers
welcome.
expert that you've done. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye to the people. And
Thanks.
happy trails in your
Thank you.
new ventures.
Thank you.
Because he's moving from Toronto
Hey.
very soon. He shall be missed. All right, so I'm going to say sayonara to everybody and
Bye, bye, everybody.
bye-bye. Say bye-bye to Ivan. He'll be around. Don't worry.
I'll
All
be
right.
around.
Talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.